Mememememe was actually a long journey, and originally we wanted to do an exhibition that highlighted social movements. Memes are a great way of discussing social issues, reflecting on culture. These seemingly very, very small images on the internet can actually be really big things. You can never use a meme without getting your hands a little dirty in a way.
This feeling of being not alone, laughing at the same thing, being able to communicate an emotion regardless of the language and get like an instant connection with someone, I think it's pretty magical.
Pedro Pascal. Ding ding skrieba dum 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 deng. Pedro ballerina cappuccina Pascal. Chimpanzini Pedro Pascal bananini. Pedro Pascalu tung 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 sahur. Skribi diba.
What is the possibility that Pedro Pascal has seen this stuff?
I think he might have seen it.
Do you have to use Comic Sans?
Comic Sans is a meme.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mikey Mhenna. I'm the founder of afikra. I'm excited. This is, I think, the last episode in this season's Media Majlis podcast, which we've been working on. This is our third season. So if you haven't seen previous episodes, feel free to go back. Today, we're taking a look at the Mememememe exhibition sort of in retrospect. With me is Amal Ali, one of the curators of the exhibition, and Anne Horel, one of the artists who contribute original pieces to the exhibition. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice. You guys both have Janet Jackson microphones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not the performance. We're just here to talk.
So I thought what would be fun, just as a show of hands, who's actually seen the exhibition? Okay. Everyone's generally seen it. So we'll have this sort of be a conversation among friends, and we'll open up to questions at the end. But I think a good way to start, maybe we'll start with you. I'll show a little video that sort of gives a background to what it looks like, and then I want to hear what the vision was to start, and then what the sort of result has been now in retrospect. So let's take a look at a quick little video. Shout out Dohanus.
Thank you, Dohanus.
So, yeah, give us a overview of what the concept was to begin with, and where you guys landed, and all that stuff.
So, Mememememe was actually a long journey. It was about 2 years, 3 years in the making, and originally we wanted to do an exhibition that highlighted social movements. So we were like, okay, what is a tool that can be used to kind of talk about and unpack social movements. And from there, we kind of landed on memes. And memes are a great way of kind of discussing social issues, reflecting on culture. But also there's that anonymity that comes with memes, that like a lot of people don't know where a meme came from, who's the original creator of a meme. So sometimes it can be used to kind of talk about sensitive issues in subtle ways. So memes kind of offered a great way to talk about how you can go from these seemingly very, very small images on the internet can actually be really big things. And as a university museum, it's important to not just have like a display of memes, because we could have easily just displayed different memes. But we wanted it to be research-based. We wanted it to kind of reflect on how memes are actually, that you can never kind of use a meme without getting your hands a little dirty in a way. And we'll talk more about this at some point, not to start on a bad note. But we wanted to kind of showcase how these seemingly harmless, funny jokes on the internet are actually much more than they are. And so we have a very critical lens with Mememememe. It's our 10th exhibition at the Media Majlis.
Yeah, so as you're looking at it now, is there anything that you're like, this was unexpected, we didn't expect this to be like that, or we didn't expect the response to be one way or another?
Yeah, so actually leading up to the exhibition, I was like, are people going to be able to enjoy it? Are they going to be able to relate to it? You have that as the curator in me was kind of almost doubting everything. And then it opened, and we found that one thing that's been really interesting is memes are relatable to everyone. And that's not something that surprised us, but what surprised us was people actually wanted to come see it in a very critical way as well. One thing that the exhibition Scenography is kind of done in a way that looks like a laundromat. And that is intentional because we wanted to talk about this idea of washing and communication. So from things like AI washing to whitewashing. And when people often end at the final bit of the exhibition, which is the narrative laundry, if you haven't seen it, I recommend. They're always like, I didn't get it, but now it all makes sense. And I think that being able to get that across and have people say, okay, maybe I didn't understand in the beginning, but having that final aha moment and being able to see what we were trying to convey is really like rewarding.
Very cool. And so I want to introduce your piece.
Is that Pedro Pascal's face on a strawberry? Wait, now he's a watermelon, a banana. He's everything and everywhere. Maybe you're thinking, the internet's gone too far. But who is the internet? Isn't it us? We're the ones who scroll, save, and share. And in doing that, we worship the algorithm without even realizing it. Anne Horel captures that feeling all too well in her 3-channel video installation, Good Soup, a meme culture altarpiece, where each screen loops the chaos of the internet over and over again. You're guaranteed to recognize something you've seen online here. Maybe you'll recognize everything. Maybe you'll even recognize yourself. And you're not alone. That's the power of memes. They shape what we desire and who we become. Take a moment to step outside your feed and visit the Media Majlis Museum today.
What was the initial brief that led to this altarpiece?
So I've been a digital artist for over 15 years, and internet language is at the heart of my research and my work. So when Amal came to me for making a piece for our contribution to the exhibition, I was thinking it would be cool to kind of like make a concentrate of everything that I've made on the internet that are gone viral or not. Like all of the GIFs I have on the internet, it's not to give numbers, but it's just to give a scale. They have like 3.2 billion views. So it means that they circulate a lot and people use them in daily conversations, and it's something that is completely out of control. And that's something that is very inherent to the internet culture. Once you put something out there, it's out there and there is no control about it. And it can be good, it can be bad, but whatever. It's not what it is about. So I wanted to make 3 screens because there are 3 kind of like main themes and directions through all of this GIF work. There is pizza that has been a recurrent object. There is the notion of pop culture icons.
As you talk, I'm going to actually go to this slide.
Yeah, sure.
So this is the icon one, right?
Yeah, these are like celebrities that we see in our everyday. They are part of the pop culture. And the thing that really strikes me is that we kind of idolize them as if they were gods and goddesses from like the internet world. And I always project myself in the future and I'm like, okay, what if some archaeologists in 2,000 years find these and like so many images of Rihanna, so many images of the Kardashians, and what does it say about what we idolate?
It's like Hercules and Aphrodite. It's like these demigods.
Definitely. Like that's how I think it's expressing something about our society, and this will remain as like a trace from our culture. And then the third screen is Pedro Pascal because he's like kind of like he became like an icon this past 2 years. He's not young in the movie industry, but it kind of like bursted in like in like a few months. And so he kind of like became a big main source of inspirations to kind of like make this Nyan cat GIF that got viral over like a night. It had like 100 million views in over a night. And I was like, oh, okay, this is out of control. So people are kind of like responding to this. And yeah, that was the project with this Alterpiece.
Do you, like, when something like that goes that viral, does it instill a specific emotion in you? And is that emotion always the same? Is it like concern, worry, joy?
It's weird. It's just weird because it's so immaterial. Like, it's just numbers, but who are these people behind it? Like, and it's always something that I don't really care about, but it's always very surprising and it makes me proud somehow. I'm like, oh, I was just like making this stupid Nyan cat GIF and I was like sipping my tea and like being like, oh, this is funny. And then the next day it got 100 million views, which is just weird.
Can I ask you a question? Does it make you, this is going to maybe sound a silly question, but does it make you feel connected to these people or like more alone or?
Yeah, no, definitely connected. Definitely connected. And that's what I love the most about the internet. As I said, I've been doing that for 15 years. I'm from a generation who was born without the internet. And the main thing about the internet and into the building of the internet was community. And this feeling of like being not alone and like laughing at the same thing, being able to communicate an emotion regardless of the language, regardless of the culture, regardless of anything, and just send a GIF or a stupid meme and get like an instant connection with someone. I think it's pretty magical, and it's like the strength of iconographic language. I usually make a parallel with the GIFs and the emojis, like the new hieroglyphs of our days, because it's an alphabet and it's like a way of communicating. It is a language.
Yeah, it's like a new grammar.
It is, definitely.
I want to take a look at this video because this sort of like gives a full overview of what it is.
Pedro Pascal. Ding ding scrieba dum 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 deng. Pedro ballerina cappuccina Pascal. Chimpanzini Pedro Pascal bananini. Pedro Pascalu, tung 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 sahur, scribi diba. Brr patapim Pedro Pascal, patapim patapim. Trulimero Pedro Trulicina Pascal tutututoto. Tralalero, tralala, Pedro Pascal, tralalero, tralala. Lirililarala Pedro Pascal, lirililaralilala. Pipi Pedro Potato Pascalo. Tripi troppi, Pedro Pascal, glup glup. Burbaloni, lulliloli, Pedro Pascal coccolicocola. Pedro Pascal, Strawberrelli, Flaminghelli, hi 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 hi. La Pedro Vaca Saturno Saturnita Pascal, Giraffa Pedro Pascal Celesti, Bananita Dolfinita Pedro Pascal Ploof Ploof, Pedro Pascal Ding Ding Screba Dum 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 Ding Din 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 Dun Ma Din 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 Dun.
This went out of control.
How does it start and how does it end? Like the creation are there tons of videos that end up on the cutting room floor that you're like, this is not good enough? Or is it this like flow state that you get into and then tell us that's
it's kind of a trance, and especially for this series because there are so many brain rots over there. So I was like, okay, there is this brain rot trend happening, which is hilarious. And then I was like, okay, I need to just like merge these two together. And I had this, like, it was really addictive to make because it's so fun to make. And it's really reminds me, we had an exhibition in a gallery in Paris last month about the parallel between AI and AI slop in particular, and surrealism and Dadaism. And the main point of focus is absurd and funny. Like the reaction in the audience, what people were laughing because it's absurd. It's like, it makes absolutely no sense, and we don't need everything to make sense, right? And so in terms of what I put online and what I just like throw away, most of the time I don't really think about it. If it makes me, if I had fun making it, usually it's that's what I judge from.
That's the test.
Yeah, that's the test.
What is the possibility that Pedro Pascal has seen this stuff?
I think he might have seen it.
Yeah.
Probably. I want to believe that. But I have no news, so I don't know.
Amal, can you tell us about this book?
Yeah, so this is the meme publication, but it's not really about memes. It's actually about another memetic form of communication, which is emojis. And we chose to do a whole entire publication about emojis because usually our publications, what they do is they expand on stuff that we didn't necessarily talk about in the exhibition or wanted to talk about in a different way. So we did kind of like a glossary on emojis, and we tried to center those discussions around the global south. So we have things in there like the different uses for the robot emoji or the globe emoji, and kind of tying that with discussions about visual language and how we use that to communicate, connect, and relate. So if anyone would like a copy, just let me know. We have tons.
But like, as you were going through this, what's the process of like getting this stuff done? Like the exhibition versus the book, how do you guys work on these different things? And like, what is the end goal for something like this versus having people come through and actually see the exhibition?
Yeah, so with every kind of exhibition we have the exhibition, we have the publication, we have what we're doing right now, the programs. We also sometimes have offsite programs accompanying an exhibition. And so a lot of that, the curatorial side of the house is involved in a lot of that. And it is very different because you have, from the get-go, you have to decide, okay, what's going to be the exhibition about versus what's the publication about versus what's the programs about. And if you're not clear, it all kind of becomes like a mishmash of things. And there's no kind of distinction or added value that you bring to the table with each one that we do.
Yeah, it's interesting that this type of stuff, like when you approach these authors to work on this stuff, are you pitching, somebody to do crystal ball and somebody to do chart increasing and bust in silhouette? Are you pitching it to them saying, hey, I want you to write about the falafel?
That was basically what we did.
Really?
So what we had for this exhibition was we had at every chapter of this publication, which is it's divided into 4 chapters: seeing, becoming, feeling, and I'm blanking on the last one. But basically, it was this idea of kind of progressing throughout, so going from the past, present, and future. And we had some content advisors working on the exhibition who act as our kind of checks and balance for each exhibition that we have. So we went to them and we're like, we're doing this publication on emojis. You might have never written about the falafel emoji, but if you could talk about kind of this idea of kind of bonding over food, or kind of the iconography, such as what Anne was just talking about, the icon of pizza and how that circulates over the internet and how we use that to kind of connect with each other. So we kind of, we had a little brief for each one. We didn't just tell them write about falafel, although that would also be great, but missed opportunity there.
Next. So one thing that's like striking about this entire series and the exhibition is that, like, not to point any fingers, a lot of museums globally, and definitely museums in the region, are kind of humorless, self-important places. All right. This exhibition is very much not that. It's irreverent. It's hilarious. And it's like, it's obviously very deep and is filled with meaning, and is a serious place, but it doesn't take itself seriously. Is that part of the vision to begin with?
So you think we don't take ourselves very seriously?
I don't think you take yourselves very seriously. I think you do serious work, but I don't think you take yourself seriously.
No, I would definitely agree with you on that. And I think lately I've been thinking a lot about kind of museums and how a lot of audiences, and sometimes these audiences are kind of missed audiences, they go to museums and they're like, well, why does this matter? or they go to a gallery and they're like, why is this important to me? And I think that's often not communicated well, but also the experience is also not there. So one thing we try to give people is when audiences come through our doors, we'd like them to have a reaction, whether that's good or bad. And we'd rather that than kind of a non-reaction or nah. So for us, even if it was like a criticism or a critique or a feedback or a debate, or this made me feel uncomfortable, for example, or if it was a laugh, we're very welcoming of that. And the museum's motto is always another side. So we're kind of happy to explore these multiple perspectives, and some of them may not be comfortable perspectives. And as curators, I work in a curatorial duo with my colleague Jack. We always say we might not like a certain thing or we might not connect to it, but we'll include it because it adds to the narrative. So that's, I guess, a way of not taking ourselves too seriously.
Yeah. And I have a question for you. There's like, I feel like everyone online is warning us about the infinite scroll, about sort of just like doom scrolling constantly and ingesting all of this material. Do you, like, when somebody says like don't scroll, are you like no scroll please?
No.
Give me views.
I think people should do whatever they want to do, and everybody is responsible of their own mental health. I don't know. I think it's just the way we're consuming images is changing. And especially today with the rising of AI, like we see a lot of concern about like how we are going to make difference between something that is real and something that is not real. And we were talking about that with Amal earlier. And I think the question has never been there. Like, an image is never real. It's always a fragment of reality. It's always something subjective. It's always something that has been taken from the real and then put it in like an image, a painting, a drawing, a meme, digital art, whatever. And then AI feeds on all of these things that are supposed to be reality. So we are kind of like layering the cave allegory between like what is real and what is not. And it's not the subject. And I'm kind of like deviating from your question. But yeah, my short answer would be, I think our way of consuming images is changing, and we are just at the surface of it because the hardwares are going to change as well. And the doom scroll is... Actually, there's some studies that came out that it's kind of like not good for your brain, that your brain is actually rotting.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Again, everybody is responsible for what they do. And if people can just like it's always a matter of balance. If people can doom scroll and then go into a park or just go barefoot in the grass and connect with people. And they can do everything. Like we can do everything, but just in like balance.
In the Arab world, I feel like there are only a few institutions that are taking this seriously. Do you feel like there are you noticing trends from specific parts of the world that are taking digital art more seriously than others?
Yeah, definitely. And we were talking about it with Amal earlier, and I had opportunities here and in Dubai. I don't remember the name of of course, the name of the place kind of like comes out of my head, but I will find it again. But the thing is that for digital art, we need display, and we need hardware, and we need places that have the hardware possible for displaying and finding ways to show and finding innovation on how to show, and not just like a screen. Because mostly what we see in Europe or in the US, it's just like a screen and then it just displays. But here, like there is a scenography, and like to think about this, I've only seen here and see things here and in Dubai. For now, I'm hoping this will expand.
Cool. Amal, I have a question about. It's impossible. Every time I ask questions like this, nobody ever answers, but I'll shoot my shot. What are some of your favorite pieces, aside from Anne's, of course, in the exhibition that are not only visually interesting, but also got you like they sort of stick in your brain?
I think, well, aside from Anne's, because Anne's already knows that her piece really like got a reaction from me, especially when I saw the Pedro core. Like, I really laughed so much, and I remember showing it to the museum team, and I'm like, what are they gonna think? Are they gonna think it's crazy, or are they gonna love it? And thankfully, they loved it. But one of my favorite pieces as well in the exhibition is actually Orhan Mammadov's piece called Memery. And it goes through about 3 decades of memes, tracing the eras that they went through, era by era. And I think that's so interesting because if you think about kind of memes as intangible heritage in a way, like this digital heritage that we have that we can use to actually talk about history in a way that is different from our written history. And I think going forward, kind of evaluations of how history is written is very interesting to think about. And that's something we kind of posed a little bit throughout the exhibition. Because if you go to a museum in 2060, for example, or even 2100, you're like, okay, what were they doing in 2025? And they see like, Christine Wang's, so you made an exhibition about memes painting. And they're like, that was fine art in 2025. That makes me think about, okay, what are people going to think about us in the future? Like, and how are they going to read paintings or from 2025, or how are they going to be read differently now than or in the future? How will they be read then?
Yeah. So much of, one of the hallmarks of internet culture is this idea or the illusion of freedom of speech. And this is a place where political content can live and breathe and breed in ways that are unexpected, like something as silly as a Pascal a cat, and something like deeply political. How did you guys navigate that here? Like, so much of powerful meme content is very politically charged, obviously.
Yeah.
How did you guys think about this stuff?
So actually, one of the kind of spots in the exhibition where we kind of dive into that is we worked with our students at Northwestern to create an archive of over 1,000 kind of Global South memes. And we went through those kind of memes and we picked out 21 to showcase on an interactive wall that you could then unpack and dive into and learn more about. And each one talked about a different kind of social movement. And it's like, you can have social movements that are politically charged, and we are happy to talk about them. But you can also have social movements, and I think we touched on it in one of the panel discussions we've done, the Gamboa in the Khalij, and how there were so many memes about that. So it doesn't always have to be political, but it is indeed very political. And kind of when you see what's said and what's not said, sometimes what's not said is just as important as what's said, because that gives you a lot of context. But thankfully, kind of, we wanted to make sure that the Global South and the memes coming out of the Global South were represented, because a lot of them can be very localized. And we wanted to showcase that they have an influence in their particular geographic region. Just because you haven't seen them before doesn't mean they don't exist. And also, they might share some of the universalities as memes you see coming out of the West as well.
Yeah. Okay, Anne, question about anatomy of a meme. Do you have to use Comic Sans? Is it required?
Comic Sans is a meme, and just like Times is a meme, these fonts are memes because they're easily identified, and the Comic Sans is it's more like a millennial meme, I guess.
I always wonder, somebody like you who's so tapped into this and has successfully created these viral memes. I always wonder, do you feel like the internet is one place, or do you feel like it's so that it's like a city where you can turn a corner on a different street corner and be like, what is this? I don't know anyone here. You could walk into a specific restaurant or coffee shop or bar and be like, who comes here? This is the weirdest place. Because sometimes I feel like there's these accounts that I'm like, everyone I know watches this account or sees this account. And then every now and then you step outside that bubble and you realize nobody in that new circle looks at it at all, and it feels like the internet is not one place at all.
This is more like philosophical and metaphysical question. I feel like the internet is one. I think I see the internet as like a global subconscious where like we all imagine that in all of these wires and all of this data, we all collectively put it out there in this mega brain, and it's showing the funny and the gross, the good and the bad, and the dark and the light, and it's showing what is humankind, which is a lot of things and a lot of nuances. And I think, yes, the internet is one, and I think there are some part that you don't see because you're not aware of it. And accidentally, one day you're like, oh, I never seen that before, and becomes an interest, or it becomes something you think about, or but it's all coming from this same place, which is our human experience of the world that is shared throughout data. And I think it's I find it magical. I think about this all the time.
Yeah. To answer the question I asked you, my favorite piece are the wires, the tubes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about it? Who was behind that?
Yeah, so permanent data, the fiber optic, is a installation by an artist called Jeroen van Loon. And this piece was never created for an exhibition about memes. It is 12 kilometers of fiber optic cable in a big reel, and on it is printed the Gutenberg Bible, and sandwiched in between that is YouTube comments. And we kind of discovered this artwork, and we thought, okay, so what is going to be permanent in the future? Is it going to be the YouTube comments? Is it going to be the few copies of the Gutenberg Bible we have left? Is it going to be the fiber optic cable running around everywhere and anywhere? So it asks the same question about memes, because in a way, memes kind of have, like I was saying earlier, they could have the potential to kind of tell our history. And there's always a digital footprint, even though you may not know who created the meme or you're unable to trace it. A meme has a life of its own. So that artwork became sort of a metaphor for meme culture in general.
Okay, let's open up for questions from the audience. We have two amazing gentlemen with microphones. Any questions from the audience? We have a question right here and a question right here. Could you introduce yourself?
Of course. Hi, I am Giantaret Kotse. I'm from Kosovo. I am an actress and a multidisciplinary artist. So my first question is, how did you two meet? How did you get to do this collaboration? I feel like when two artists work together, it's like almost like a relationship. You have to really decide on a lot of things, and then having a very good, successful outcome as your exhibition really needs to be because you worked very well together. So I would like to know more about how did you get in touch? How did you come up with this? And then also another thing for Anne. So you know what? I saved so many things in a hard drive, actually 2 hard drives, and then they stopped working.
Oh, no.
So I'm going crazy. Like, what do I do now? They just do this sound like, but nothing shows. So yeah, I'm planning to go somewhere and try to find out what's going to happen. Please tell me, what should I do?
Print all your emails.
Yeah. But usually when a hard drive stops to work, once data is written on the hard drive, it doesn't go away. So there is always a way to find it back. It will be a mess. Like, things will not be organized the way you organize them, but if you really want to get back the data, you can. And for
I'll keep them in that drawer,
Yeah. And then do double copies and triple copies of everything all the time. And for the first part, it's you who find me. I don't know how.
Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about that, actually. So today's actually the first day I got to meet Anne in person. But a lot of kind of, we constantly keep different artists kind of on our radar, or we find them relevant to certain exhibitions. I came across Anne's work, I think it was on Giphy, your Giphy page. And then I dug deeper and deeper and found a lot more of her work. And I just reached out to her and I was like, we have this exhibition. It's about meme culture and internet memes, and kind of it becomes, like you were saying, it becomes kind of a relationship that you form. You have to kind of, you have the brief, you have the discussion, you have constant different meetings over time. So you have to kind of put effort into that. And especially when you know that even a lot of the times you may never meet them in person, but you want to make sure that the outcome of the work that you're doing together is good for both sides. So it's about kind of maintaining that relationship.
Hi, I'm Alfredo Clamarotti, the director of the Media Majlis Museum. I have a comment for Anne. I just read recently that Jack Dorsey, the former Twitter founder, he is about to relaunch Divine.
Yeah.
And apparently he wants to restore all the Vine archive from all users. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but there is hope.
I've heard so many stories about that. Like Elon Musk even did like, I should bring back Vine, and we never like. I know. It won't be the same.
I have also another question for you. As an artist, do you think now is maybe in your artistic conception or approach to art making that you realize an artwork in different formats for different type of audiences? So we might think about the Alterpieces here. You also realize as sculptures or as a installation or as a 2D works, and as well as digital. Because I was always thinking, actually, as more and more artists actually start their creative process from thinking, but also digitally, gathering material and finding patterns and then elaborating the work. It might be, a direction to not just thinking one format as an output, but multiple formats. It was just a curiosity, actually.
I think it depends, and I think also the venue creates an excuse to experiment as well. I mean, in my perspective, I like to, whenever I have an exhibition, I like to not just bring something that already exists. I like to create something for the exhibition, but also because I'm like, this is the way I work. Like I'm like constantly doing stuff. And so I think it depends. And sometimes I have a proposition and I'm like, oh, this is exactly where this should go. So it's kind of like different. It depends on the opportunity, I guess. But my favorite way of putting the work into the physical world is when I have like here, like a dispositive and like a scenography or like a disposition of screens that I'm like, okay, I have material to think about, and this is kind of like adding to the creative process, and it's really inspiring in the process. So I like this a lot, actually. That to have a venue to give me a frame for creating something. I don't know if I answer your question. Maybe I didn't understand your question.
Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll start in the back.
Hi. Good evening. So I'm Nicoletta Fazio, and I'm a museum worker at MIA here in Doha. I have a question related to what you were discussing about museums and memes. And I noticed something. I love memes, first of all. So, but I noticed, especially on some platforms, that museums in the West, in particular, are trying to mimify their own presence, but there seems to be a very contradictory response from the public, as it is, I don't know, a museum is a boomer trying to use social media, like a boomer on Facebook, let's put it this way. Yeah. And the result is that instead of like playing towards a common game, like make the museum relevant and fun and like less of a stiffy and dusty places, something more relevant, hip, and young. But the reaction is like, oh my God, cringe. No, please stop doing that. So where do we place ourselves as museums?
I would say you would have to do it in a way that's not just jumping on the bandwagon. Because oftentimes a lot of people do things because it's trendy and there's no actual kind of soul or heart actually put into it, or finding the right creatives to do that work. To memify a museum, you have to have people that speak meme. And if you don't, then you just focus on what you know best rather than trying to do something that you completely might not understand or end up like something that's also cringe to me or to someone else might not be cringe to another person. But so it's all very kind of subjective as well. But I would say just don't jump on a bandwagon if you're not informed. That would be my advice.
Can I give slightly different advice?
Go for it.
I would say, like, be who you're speaking to.
Yeah.
Basically, like, boomers go to museums, like, in droves. So if you want to reach boomers, have a boomer design the campaign, which is totally fine. You know, like boomers are not on Facebook, ironically. They're on there. And it's like
they use like Facebook as Tumblr sometimes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine. You know, like, and so like, if you want to reach boomers, you should be on Facebook. Of course, you know? And like, I don't know what's cringier, like Gen Z trying to design campaigns for boomers or boomers trying to design campaigns for Gen Z, because like both are cringy because both don't understand each other. So I would just say, like, be who you're trying to speak to. And if you're not that person, just like hire those people and don't get in their way. I don't know, maybe you have different advice.
No, when I see, so sometimes you see community managers on museums and they are actually creating new memes because they are young and they're not faking it. As you said, you need to speak the language, but it's a constantly evolving language. There are like new memes all the time. Like this could, like, anything can become a meme and there is no really recipe. Like we never know. Like it kind of happened by accident. And yeah, I see great community managers that are like making a great job at just not faking to be fun.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, I'm Adea, and I am a marketing specialist. So in a sense, this is very home for me because I do create content and I also consume a lot of content and all of that. One thing that really struck me when you were talking, Anne, about the comments and kind of living in the comments, and that's something that I personally love to do. And I think there's a whole culture about living in the comments, and especially now with TikTok, I see it now that they've allowed it, and this connects to the memes. They've allowed pictures. Now it's a whole other like an evening, night out. Now you can just hang out on TikTok comments and read, and there are even memes with like serving tea. Here's your tea, because you're there for hours in the comments reading. So that's something really funny to me, and I think it's really cool. And talking to someone 10 years older or like 20 years older, I think they would not relate at all. And it's something so specific to this TikTok generation. This is something that I would like to know, like if you've seen it and how you feel about that. And then one other really quick question. I'm also a mother, young mother. And in terms of the AI content and all of that, ever since I've become a mother, I see it from both angles. Like, although I do enjoy this kind of stuff, and in a sense for our generation, it's fun, it can be funny, but then seeing it from the lens of the ethical lens of this is being shown to children. And it's also like, not necessarily, although you can filter and you can try as hard as possible not to show your children, it's even on YouTube Kids and everywhere it's seeping through. So I also wanted your thoughts on if you ever think about that, if you ever think that maybe it can reach the wrong audience or it can be interpreted from kids in a very weird way that's not healthy for them.
Okay, so I'm going to take the first question first. Obsessed with TikTok comments. I do my supermarket on the memes. Like I do my groceries on like I'm saving pictures and making my own stickers to send to my friends. And they're like, where did you get this? I'm like, TikTok comment. People are here. And that's the thing about the internet. And that's something that came really early on when I started using internet as a material, is that people are funny. And like, I think laughter is a great way to commune. And I think it was, and my first thought was like, oh my God, laughter is going to save the world. Like, because we connect in ways and we're like, oh, I just love that feeling a lot. So yeah, obsessed, love it, save it, use it every day.
Sorry, very quick question. Do you also comment or do you just read?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm like, I'm a huge TikTok user. And for the second part of the question, which is a bit more serious matter, I would say that the content that is out there on the internet is the same. It's just a mirror. It's a reflection of what's out there in the world. So I feel like it's a matter of education, and it's the role of the parents to just like take care of their kids, you know. And there are some bad stuff happening in the world. There are some bad stuff happening on the internet, and it's the responsibility of the parents to protect and take care of their children. I think there are two things missing at school: how your body works, like vitamins, minerals, what you need to get into this to just function, and internet education. And maybe this will come in the future. I don't know. And as we are getting more and more connected, and your question had a double layer with the AI thing. And I think AI is just adding another layer of some issues that we haven't talked about in the digital realm. It is becoming political, but it has always been political. It's just that people weren't looking at it because they were like, oh, this is a youth thing. It will disappear over time. It wasn't about to disappear. It was there to stay. And we are seeing that now. And now it's evolving because there are new generations and there are new ways of using it. So we just need to go with the flow, and at each step, adjusting our behaviors and as a social thing. It's not deviating for our human activities. It's just another thing that we're adding to our toolbox.
Cool. There was one and one.
I have two questions, one for Amal and one for you, Anne. Amal, I want to ask, did you guys, like, while in the interactive kind of screen where people submitted their memes, is there any memes that you had to exclude because it was like too much or too risky to keep? And Anne, my question is like, how do you, as a creative, how do you stay in touch with all the trends and memes while at the same time kind of protecting your like sanity and not like doom scrolling all the time? And where do you find that balance? Thank you.
So to answer your question, so we had a lot of memes and archive of memes that we created, and some of the memes had, could have had risky material in them, or but at the same time, it wasn't about kind of whether something was too risky or whether it wasn't. It was about what kind of got the message across about how the different aspects of these memes in the global South. So it wasn't necessarily a factor that we had, but what we wanted to kind of talk about is kind of how you might not see these memes on a daily basis, or how they might be very localized, but they do the same thing that memes do all over the world. So that wasn't necessarily a big factor in that area.
I consume a lot of content in general. I'm a big movie watcher. I go to the movies several times a week. I have like a free pass to go to the movies with my production company. So I'm like using it a lot, as much as I can. I watch a lot of TV shows, watch a lot of reality TV, watch a lot of content on the internet. And it has always been the case. When I was younger, I was watching a lot of television. I come from the gaming time. I've always been a screen consumer. Sometimes it gets, it's more like it comes in cycles and waves. Sometimes because it's my food for thought, it's my material. So I have to keep myself in the movement. So sometimes I have like, it's like a digestive system. I have moments I need to feed myself. So I watch a lot of stuff. And when I reach a point, and that's something I've noticed because I do a lot of yoga, meditation, and stuff like that. So I'm kind of like aware of what's going on. Like when it's too much, I know it's too much. So I get to a point where I know it's like I'm fed. Now it's time to digest. And usually I cannot watch anything, like not a video, not like nothing. And it's a moment where I'm like super creative. So I'm like obviously on my screen again, but I'm not consuming, I'm making. And then when I get it out of my system, I go back to the feeding thing. And before I noticed that cycle, I was like, sometimes I was like exhausted. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do anything. I can't watch anything. I can't absorb anything because I was fed. But then I understood this. It took me a few years. And then I understood the cycle. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Now I can just like serve my creative process. But I don't have like, when I say I watch a lot of things, I watch a lot of things.
Cool. In the back here and then there. And then I think we'll wrap.
Hi, my name is Daria. I'm an art consultant and art historian based in Dubai. And it's not a new thing that memes are getting into the museums, and it's a fabulous show that you're having now here. My question is, I'm kind of wondering, what do you think is the place currently of memes within the wider art history? Because you don't need to be an artist to create a meme, right? And then it gets as a content into the museum's walls, but then you have to be an artist to put it as an art presentation. So one question is, how do you find the balance here, and what do you see as the part of our history and what is part of the social history? Another question is a bit more technical, is after all this discussion of the preservation and how do you keep the data within the museum storage, within the museum collections, what was your experience on preserving those art objects that are consisting of memes, digital data?
So this is a very interesting question in the realm of Media Majlis Museum, because the first aspect of Media Majlis Museum is we don't have our own collection. We're a non-collecting museum, but we do have content that's been created in-house that we own. However, that is kind of managed through the digital systems and the cloud and hard drives and so many things that I'm not very well versed in. So in terms of that, we don't necessarily have, but when we have artworks that we're loaning or licensing, we're very aware that when they come in, we have to have the hardware or the software to be able to play it. So every time we do that, we just make sure that we are capable, or if we're not capable, that we either become capable or just say that we're not. In terms of your first question, my favorite thing on the internet is actually art history memes. Like these art accounts that kind of are dedicated to kind of like making memes out of art. So I think that is one aspect of that. But there's also like, I've seen a few kind of exhibitions and museums that are dedicated to kind of memes or kind of talking about a certain topic through memes. But I think at Media Majlis, we kind of focus on idea-based exhibitions. So every exhibition has a different idea. And although the idea for this exhibition was memes, it's kind of more looking at memes as kind of a unit of measurement for culture. And it was in a way a reflection of culture as well. So there's many different things you can tackle through an idea-based exhibition. And then what comes after or came before is completely different. But there is threads between them. So the exhibition before that was on AI, and you can't talk about memes anymore without talking about AI because it's so easy to generate memes through AI. So you make those links as you go along throughout the exhibitions and the years. I hope that answers your question.
Kind of, yes.
Okay. Because the context of media measures is a bit difficult to kind of answer that fully.
Can I just comment to expand a bit on what Amal said about the first point? In terms of how to preserve digital artifacts, let's say being artworks or film in digital or media production, whatever. We are actually tackling that thing right now because we are establishing a portal, which is basically a collection of digital artifacts, which will be online. So separate from the program, let's say, but accessible to the public, because at the moment we have 6 years of production, digital production, which actually sits in our servers here. We don't store on the clouds, actually. We have all the servers here in the university, which is kind of a reassurance to some extent. But I think what is the point is more that when you work with an artist, especially when you commission an artwork to an artist, it has to be in dialogue with the artist how that work will basically go across time. Because of course, I mean, the media players will change, the format will change, and artists are super aware about it. So slowly, actually, there is this conversation happening that at some point, actually, the artists themselves will say, okay, I produced this work, it is in this format, it plays on these devices. However, every 2 or 3 years, we will check in. And if the format needs to change, we will move and transfer to another format for another device. So it's a bit like planning for some sort of a life of an artwork, which is the same thing as conservators are doing for physical artwork. But at the moment, it's in its infancy, I would say, this thing, because there's no specific guideline. There are some guidelines from, Tate, from Whitney. They have a good sort of a procedure, protocol, let's say, in terms of digital preservation. But it's still in process. There's no specific guideline. There's no fixed rules, let's say, because it's evolving so much that it has to go with time.
Cool. I think we have one last question over here.
Hi, my name is Abdullah Al-Hamadi. I'm a visual artist. So I wanted to explore the evolution of memes. So since I was young, my first instance with meme was 9gag, if anyone knows it. Came across it by middle school. So I've noticed a trend regarding memes. Since the early days, the memes usually follow a cycle. Since the 9gag days, maybe you see 1 or 2 meme trends a year. But as the year goes by and new platforms are more optimized for user engagement and stuff. So you have Twitter, Instagram, became more of a video-based, audio-based, and the cycles are getting shorter and shorter. So nowadays, every day you log on into social media, you see a new meme trend, a new audio trend. Now you see AI generated memes with very super targeted niche memes. So I'm wondering what's the future gonna be?
Predict the future.
Crystal ball.
Give me your hand. It's such an interesting question, and I think it goes back to the matter of nothing that is created is actually original. And we do recycle and we get inspired all the time by what comes from the past. And it's always a new mix because there is always new parameters in the present. So it's kind of like a crab dance. You go there, and then the past is here, and then the present is here, and then you walk like this towards the future of meme. I think it's impossible to predict because there are new trends and new memes popping up every day, and especially with like platforms like TikTok, for example, that are like very extremely viral and very niche, as well as the thing we were saying. There's some stuff you're exposed to because your algorithm is trained to watch this kind of content, and if you step a little bit out of your comfort zone in your algorithm, you open a new portal and you have access to this new, and then it goes like this. I think it's the pure essence of trend and fashion. It goes outdated and then it comes back, and we can see that. As you said, like vintage GIFs or vintage memes are coming back, but it's also because, I was born in the 80s, and I wasn't aware of my culture when I was 0 years old. But then I grew up, and after my metalhead phase when I was a teenager, I'm still a metalhead, but whatever, another story. When I got a little older, I wanted to have access to, I wanted to explore the musical culture and the culture from the 80s, because this is the cultural bath where I was born. But it's like the unconscious culture that kind of like made me, but I wasn't aware of it, and then because I couldn't consume it. So I think it's kind of like why people are kind of like going back. I don't know, it's just a theory. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But it's why people are coming back. It's because they want to understand where they come from. And I think people are coming back to the Y2K culture because they were born in this period of time, and this is why it's trending again. And then we can mix all of the different periods of history, and it makes this soup. This is why I called it the soup, because also it's related to another meme, but it's a soup, basically.
Amazing. Thanks, guys. This was excellent. If you want to go back and watch some of these old episodes, they're all on YouTube in one of the many alleyways of the internet. You can leave comments on there. We will enjoy them. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.